Georges St-Pierre shared high praise for UFC middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev. And coming from one of the greatest fighters ever, that means something special. Chimaev put on one of the most dominant championship performances when he dethroned Dricus Du Plessis in a lopsided unanimous decision win at UFC 319. The statistics were absolutely brutal. Chimaev put Du Plessis down 12 times and had over 21 minutes of control time. Khamzat Chimaev is another guy that is in the best pound-for-pound rankings, I should mention, St-Pierre told Helen Yee. He's there right now. He's very complete, very well-rounded. That assessment from GSP carries enormous weight. St-Pierre knows what complete mixed martial arts looks like. He dominated 2 divisions with technical mastery across all aspects of fighting. When he calls someone complete and well-rounded, that's the ultimate compliment. St-Pierre admitted he initially thought standout wrestler Nickal and former champion Robert Whittaker could have been threats to Chimaev. But Whittaker wound up having his teeth literally crushed in a round 1 submission loss at UFC 308. That brutal finish eliminated one of the division's most respected veterans. "I'm not sure who could beat him. He seems really unstoppable right now," St-Pierre said of Chimaev. "I think if you have a guy who's well-rounded, when I watched his fight against Kamaru Usman took that fight on short notice, and he did pretty well. That Usman fight remains the most competitive test of Chimaev's career. The first round was all Chimaev, second round as well, but if St-Pierre remembers correctly, Usman got the third round. That shows even at his most challenged, Chimaev still won convincingly. Let's imagine Usman would have had a full camp to prepare himself and they would have fought 5 rounds. That would have been an interesting fight to watch. There's a lot of question marks." That's a fascinating hypothetical. Usman, on short notice, pushed Chimaev harder than anyone else has. With a full training camp and 5 rounds instead of 3, could Usman have found a way to win? We'll never know, but it's intriguing to consider. St-Pierre then dropped some championship wisdom that applies to every fighter regardless of skill level. "I think nobody is invincible. I think right now Khamzat is the best at 185. But that doesn't mean if you're the best that you always win." That's the reality of mixed martial arts. On any given night, anything can happen. One mistake, one perfectly timed counter, one misjudged distance, and even the most dominant fighter can lose. It's not the best fighter that wins the fight, it's the fighter that fights the best the night of the fight, St-Pierre concluded. That statement perfectly captures the unpredictability and excitement of combat sports. St-Pierre would know better than most. He lost to Matt Serra in one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, despite being the far superior fighter. Serra fought perfectly that night, while GSP didn't, and that was enough to change everything. Chimaev's 15-0 record with 9-0 inside the UFC shows incredible consistency. He hasn't just won, he's dominated every opponent. The Du Plessis performance was particularly impressive because many considered the South African one of the division's toughest challenges. 21 minutes of control time in a 25-minute fight is absolutely suffocating. Du Plessis barely had any opportunity to implement his own game plan or mount meaningful offense. That level of dominance against a defending champion is rare. The 12 takedowns showed Chimaev's relentless pressure and wrestling superiority. Even when Du Plessis got back to his feet, Chimaev immediately put him down again. That constant wrestling threat makes everything else Chimaev does more effective. St-Pierre's comparison to his own career is interesting. GSP was known for being complete and well-rounded, excelling everywhere the fight went. Chimaev shows similar versatility, though his style is more aggressive and finishing-focused than St-Pierre's strategic approach. The Nickal comparison St-Pierre mentioned is particularly intriguing. Nickal is an elite wrestler who many believe could challenge Chimaev's grappling dominance. But wrestling alone doesn't guarantee success in mixed martial arts, as many pure wrestlers have learned. Whittaker's crushing defeat showed that experience and well-rounded skills aren't enough against Chimaev's combination of power, technique, and relentless pressure. Whittaker came in with excellent striking, solid wrestling defense, and championship experience. None of it mattered. The question of who can beat Chimaev remains unanswered. Every contender has holes that Chimaev can exploit. Every potential challenger has been dominated or finished by fighters less talented than the current champion. St-Pierre's caution about invincibility is wise. History shows that every dominant champion eventually faces adversity. Whether that comes from a specific opponent, accumulated damage, declining skills, or just one bad night remains to be seen. For now, Chimaev stands atop the middleweight division, looking truly unstoppable. St-Pierre's praise confirms what fans already suspect. This might be the most complete and dangerous middleweight champion the UFC has ever seen.